Joining me right now is Steve Gould. He is a trick shooter, part of the Gould Brothers exhibition shooters. Hey, Steve, how are you, sir?
I am great, Tom. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. You know, I'm thinking about exhibition shooters. And for those who don't know the history of it, yeah, people know a few of the names. They probably know Annie Oakley. She was an exhibition shooter, if you will, a trick shooter. But there are a lot of them along the way. Herb Parsons, Satterwhite. Obviously, people know Tom Knapp and some of the others out there. Tell me about what you guys do? This is you and your brother, right?
Yeah, it's my brother and I, and we were actually, you mentioned Tom Knapp. That is the man that inspired us. Aaron and I were familiar with trick shooting. Uh-huh. We were doing some just basic level trick shots, but it wasn't until we actually seen Tom Knapp perform a live exhibition that we went, holy cows, this guy didn't just do trick shots. He entertained people from young to old and everyone in between, men, women, it didn't matter. People were having a great time watching this guy not only pull off incredible shots, but tell stories and jokes and had all these skits. And it was just such a cool moment for us that Aaron and I looked at each other and said, that is what we're doing right there.
Well, you know what? Tom Knapp and a lot of these other ones, they're entertainers, but with guns, if you will. They're putting on a show, and Knapp was one of the best at it. And, of course, he paid homage to Herb Parsons, who went all the way back with Winchester and did his acts. I mean, I remember seeing Ed and Plinky Topperwine way back. We're talking, a gazillion years ago. Back then, they could draw a crowd of thousands of people when they would tour the country. 10,000 people would show up to watch these exhibition shooters. So, there are a lot of people who are thinking, yeah, that was in the old days. How are you guys pulling this off to be exhibition shooters today?
Yeah, it's definitely a different world, right? Because back in those days, they didn't have the YouTube and the on-demand services to watch and see anything that was out there. So when someone like Herb Parsons came to town, like, this was your opportunity. You're not going to see this anywhere else. So people would flock to town. And, the way we approach it is a little bit different. With the onset of social media and YouTube, we create a lot of content. And we pull off just shots that you're never going to see live. And actually, we were a little bit concerned about it because we're like, people are going to watch our videos, see some of these things that we're doing that might take us half a day to get one shot or, 1,000 tries to get one shot. That's not the norm. And then they come to our show, are they going to be let down when they see that we're not doing some of these things live? We were a little bit concerned about that. But what we found, as people come to our show and they say, hey, I've followed you on YouTube for years, we'll ask them after the show, hey, what'd you think? What's better, videos or live? And every single person that we've asked still says live, because they see the human dynamic. They see us make mistakes. They see us rebound from mistakes and tell jokes, and Aaron and I going back and forth. And it's just really encouraging to hear that people still love to watch it live instead of just everything they can see online.
Well, you know what it is? They get the energy. You guys bring a high level of energy, and you're playing off of each other, and you're doing the whole brother joking and, try this. Oh, yeah, well, try this. Well, yeah, try this thing. See what you can do, And it's like you're having fun. And I always say, if you're having fun with the entertainment, other people are going to have fun watching you.
Yeah, and that's really our goal. Before we go out and perform a show, obviously we want to perform to our best level, right? We want to be great shots. We want to be proficient when we're out there, not miss a lot. But what we tell ourselves is this show is about the people in the audience having fun. This isn't about us. And as long as we remember it's about them and make it fun for them, they will have a great experience. And so we try to not let the misses or anything going wrong in our show not bother us, and just keep putting on that smile, keep having fun, because when people leave, we want them to go, that was an amazing experience. Maybe I should go out and shoot a little bit now. And we just want to inspire people and show the fun in shooting.
How'd you get started doing this? I mean, were you competition shooters?
No. In fact, Tom, when we saw Tom Knapp, I would say that I wasn't even a good shot. But I was naive enough to believe that it could be possible. And that's part of what I've learned over this journey, is that when you have a dream, you create a vision in your mind of what could be, you need a little bit of that naiveness. Because if you look at where you're at right now, it may seem impossible. I wasn't a great shot. I wasn't great at public speaking. In fact, just a few years prior, I was voted the most nervous public speaker in my college speaking course. And so I had all these things going against me, but I felt it in my heart that this is what I was called to do. And that created the vision and the dream, and we just went after it.
All right, so we're talking about, long shots, and I mean, a lot of people have made 60-yard shots. A few might have made a 70-yard shot on a clay target or on a bird at some point, and we start to think that's long. And I know that George Digweed. I've seen some of the stuff he's done. I've been at sporting clays. I've been at sporting clays matches where they call the bird, they shoot the bird, and the referee calls it lost, and then the target broke after it was called lost. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it takes that long, and so you're going, holy smoke, that was so far out there, and you think, that's not possible. So, all right, tell me about this long shot and what you used and how it came about.
Yeah, well, first of all, I have ultimate respect for these sporting clay guys that can do it consistently. I mean, they're shooting sometimes 70, 80-yard shots, and if you can do that fairly consistently, that is just awesome. But what we like to do is a little bit more obscure. We like to take shots that people aren't going to do in competitions, and we're just what's outside the box. So a few years ago, we had wanted to see how far out could we break a clay with a shotgun. And we knew George Digweed had done it, I believe, at 130 yards, and we had met George. He's a great guy. And so we're like, let's just see if we can go out and break that. And so we took a lead shot, number 5, and we were able to break a clay at 160 yards. Now, it did take a few attempts. Even though we hit it several times, the clay wasn't breaking because you've lost so much energy at 160 yards.
Of course.
And we thought that was pretty cool. The record sat at 160 yards. And last year we started working with Federal. And Federal makes a round called TSS, Tungsten Super Shot, which is 22% more dense than standard tungsten because this is a tungsten alloy, and it's 56% more dense than lead. So what that means is you can have more pellets in the same size carrying the same amount or more energy downrange. And so now we got thinking, I bet we could push it even farther. And that's why we...
Let me jump in here because what you're talking about is you can have smaller pellets that weigh the same, and by virtue of that, because they're dense, you can have more pellets in. Now you have more pellet density in your pattern because when you get out 180 yards, I don't care what choke you're using, you got a pattern dispersion out there, and having more pellets in it is going to increase your odds of hitting something. Fair enough?
Absolutely. And I know those numbers right offhand. A number 5 lead that we shot at 160 yard had 215 pellets. The number 9 shot, TSS, had 635 pellets, so a lot more pellets downrange, carrying a greater velocity and about the same amount of energy at 160 yards.
So are these targets you're shooting, are they going away? Are they crossers? How are you setting these up?
We're trying to throw them up as straight as we can. We want to take out some variables, right? So we want to throw them straight up so we can kind of track with it. And if we know how much our shot's going to drop in that distance, which we do a little bit of testing ahead of time to kind of figure that out, then we take out the left and right. Although the targets never come down perfectly true, there's always a little left or right to them. So that's it does come towards us a little bit too because you can't throw them perfectly vertical. So what we do is we set up the machine. And ultimately our record that we set was at 180 yards, and the machine was probably at about 195 yards.
Wow. So you broke a target at 180 yards with a shotgun?
I was a little bit impressed myself. When I tried several times with the number 9 shot, and I was struggling. And we had just a few boxes of the number 7 shot, which has less BBs, but is carrying more velocity and energy downrange. So then I switched to the number 7 shot, got it in the first try.
The TSX, and a lot of us have seen a lot of different things come along. This is supposed to be the coolest, newest thing and all that. This is actually the real deal, isn't it? This really represents a huge improvement in technology in shot shells.
Absolutely, and that's why we were so excited to get out there and try it and push the limits again. And I used TSS in a little more practical application this spring. I took my son turkey hunting, and he's only 9 years old, and so I didn't want him shooting a big old gun and having a bad experience. But with the technology of TSS, I was able to use a 410 that he could handle well, that wasn't too heavy, and the recoil wasn't too bad. And he shot a turkey at about 20 yards with a 410 and just rolled it. It never moved.